Welcome to today's video. In this video, I'm going to share with you what I did to obtain this really beautiful plaque that designates my yard as a wildlife habitat. I'm super excited about it. I'm going to talk about how I got it and what I had to do and how you also can get one of these for your wildlife habitat. Okay, stick around. It's gonna be fun. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Patty and this is my handmade lifestyle. You can find me everywhere online as Patty Mac Makes. On this channel, we like to do a number of fun things. Here you're going to find all kinds of makes, bakes, and gardening. If you're one of my returning viewers, I would like to say hello, welcome back. It's always lovely to see you. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope that you learn a little something new and are inspired to try something maybe you haven't done before. In today's video, I'm going to share something with you that I'm so excited about. I'm super proud of it. And here it is. I certified my yard as a wildlife habitat, and I did this through the National Wildlife Federation. And it's a voluntary program. You're on the honor system, but you know, I never cheat, so I made sure I had everything that they asked for, and we'll talk about that in the course of the video. But basically what you're doing is you're providing food, water, cover, and places to raise young. And this is super, super important, especially living in an urban environment. So, you know, I'm in the suburbs, but it's still an urban environment. For me, mostly this was to do with birds and pollinators, because I do keep a pollinator garden, which is just right here, and we'll take a look at that. But first of all, I'm going to hang this sign, and I'm going to put it right here on the tree. This is in the front of my house, so everybody driving by will see it, and I'm excited about that. So let's go ahead and put it on the tree. The tree is really super hard. I guess that's why it's called a hardwood. Also, I'm using nails from my picture hanging kit, which probably isn't like the greatest nail to be using outside, but you know what? It's okay. It's up. My sign is in place. I'm super excited about it. Everybody riding by will be able to see, and what I hope for is that it sparks a conversation about, oh, what is that? And how did you do it? And how can I do it too? I got this through the National Wildlife Federation, and they have a checklist online of what you need to have in place in order to have a certified wildlife habitat. And I'll link to that below. Basically, you have to provide some kind of food, and that can be nectar sources, which are flowers. It could be pollen, which is also flowers. It can be as simple as having foliage and twigs, because you know, nature survives on a lot of things. You don't necessarily have to be putting food out. It's not just like how we have our dogs and cats or guinea pigs, and we're accustomed to putting specific food out for them a couple times a day. Although I do that for my birds, but that's not a requirement. You can just make sure that you have plants that are pollinator friendly, and that includes your birds, because birds will also eat from the seeds in the flowers. In each category, there are different, like you have to have 3 food sources, and then for water, you need 1 source of clean water. And for me, bird bath, I have 2 different bird baths, one in the front, one in the back. I also have a stream, and so that brings additional wildlife. You need to have cover, And so that's wooded areas, that can be a place for them to roost, that could be birdhouses. Also, like this plant, that's like a thick evergreen, that is like a favorite spot for birds. They love to get in there. Also bunny rabbits, they like to get in there and hide. So you're also going to need places to raise young, and you need 2 places for wildlife to engage in courtship behavior, mate and bear and raise young. And that can be mature trees, which I have several of those. And actually, when I found this house, that was part of what was on my list of what I wanted in a home when we moved here. I wanted something with trees, and I got them, and the birds do love them, so that's a great thing. A nesting box can be on there, dense shrubs, and host plants for caterpillars. And if you're new to the channel, you may not know, but I'm like super into butterfly gardening, and there are a few videos on my channel about that, and I'll link to those below also. So those are like kind of the easy categories to obtain: the food, the water, the cover, the places to raise young. The harder part is at the bottom, where you get into the sustainable practices. That's not as easy. I'll be completely honest with you. You're going to have to work a little bit to do that part of it. And so the sustainable practices break down into 3 categories: soil and water conservation, controlling exotic species, and organic practices. So under each of those main headlines, they give you several examples of what you can do. So you have to employ practices from at least 2 of the 3 categories. So for soil and water conservation, I use mulch, and I also limit my water use, and I do capture some rainwater to reuse. For controlling exotic species, I do use native plants, and I have reduced lawn areas to put in the special gardens. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you my pollinator garden, and I'm going to tell you something. It is not what I planned it to be. From the street, it doesn't look too bad, so we'll start there. But when you get in and look, it is a wreck. It is a mess, and it is a mess because of the bunny rabbits. But what I didn't realize is that this is actually not only a beautiful pollinator-friendly garden, it's also like ideal bunny rabbit habitat, because they have a ready food source and lots of cover. Because the bunny rabbits are a food source for birds of prey, which we have a lot here. We have, I have in one afternoon sat in my back garden and seen 3 different species of hawk fly through. So they're here. And we also have eagles, believe it or not. There are brown eagles that nest like just a few blocks from here. So they are always scanning for rodents and bunny rabbits. So the bunny rabbits make a really nice meal for birds of prey. So it's the cycle of life, but my garden helps them to hide. So, all right, let me show you what I have in here, and I'll give you an idea of like some of the ways that I'm meeting the requirements on the list. There is my front pollinator garden, and you can see that it's in the front of the house. And if I just come over this way, so you can see there's my house, there's my vehicle parked in the parking lot, in the driveway. So literally it is an urban gardenscape. What you'll see is marigolds and zinnias and butterfly weed and cosmos, and most of these things I grew from seed. The marigolds, I save seeds and replant them. They also reseed themselves, and they come back absolutely beautifully. I also have a lantana growing in there. I have lavender and black-eyed Susans, and generally I have a whole heap of sunflowers. And this year I had like one that came up in the garden itself. I had some I grew in pots that survived, but they do better in the ground. But I struggled because the bunny rabbits kept eating the sunflowers. They would start to come up, and then the rabbits would be right there to help themselves to a nice snack. And so that really made it challenging to get anything to come up, to be honest. They kept eating everything. So I'm happy to have what I have, and I'm going to pull this off of the tripod and we'll just walk in closer and you can see what's going on. So as we come up, if you look in, you can see the bunny rabbit has a very nice little den going on in there, and he's not here right now, but that's where he comes in and he hides, and he blends in beautifully. Lucky for him, I guess. But we'll just come around. I want you to see this. This is like, I'm super excited about this. So see in there? That is a monarch butterfly caterpillar. And I've got that one. And I have another one. Where is he? There's the other one. Aren't they cool? I moved several of them last night into the butterfly habitat because what happens is they get to this size and then they become a snack for the birds. And I really want the butterflies to make it, so I collect the caterpillars and put them in the habitat where they're safe. And we'll come around and you can see lots and lots of marigolds. And here's my one sunflower that made it. And it's really scrubby looking, but these little bitty flowers are coming in, and I've got more coming here. So I'm just leaving it. But look at this. Squirrels. The squirrels are not my friends, people. They really aren't. I want you to see this because this is just kind of a fun thing that happened. Those are tomatoes. And they grew all on their own. I just like put old tomatoes from last year. I just tossed them in as a compost, and they seeded themselves and grew. And these are the most delicious, beautiful cherry tomatoes. I had no idea they were going to come up, and we have really been enjoying them. And then I got these twisty things. I like those a lot because they don't take up a lot of space, and I was able to prop up the plants after they really started growing, which was good. We'll come around this way, and you can see I've got another couple of them back here. And there's the lantana. Lantanas are fabulous. But here you can see the bunny rabbit carnage. These are all zinnias. I planted this whole garden solid with zinnias and sunflowers, and I didn't get very many. These are some that I planted in the box, and they look kind of scrubby, but you know, they have been enjoyed by the pollinators, so you know, I let them go. And over at this end we have more marigolds, of course. There's one black-eyed Susan that came up. I had more, but of course they eat them. Butterfly weed. Butterfly weed is easier for me to obtain here in Virginia Beach. It grows really well, and the monarchs make use of it as a food source. Now when it flowers, all of the butterflies will nectar from it, but it's kind of going to seed now. So this, let me show you. This thing is a seed pod, and so inside it's just full of seeds. And these are little aphidy things, and I used to worry about them, but the woman over at the farm market told me they don't really hurt anything and just let them be. And she said when you see these on butterfly weed or milkweed, that's how you know it's an organic plant, because, you know, not sprayed, in other words. And here, under here, this is, that's going to be flowers. So it will bloom again. We just had this terrible hot spell, and it was so hard on everything, and I think it just dried up a lot of the blooms, but it should rebloom. So these are all like super easy to grow plants that you can put out. You do need full sun. A lot of people, when a flower is spent, they'll pull it, but I encourage you to just leave it because the butterflies will still nectar on it. And inside of here, this is all seeds. Every bit of that is seed pod. I don't want to tear it up too much, but look, it's full of that. There's probably hundreds of seeds in there. Here's one that's a little more spent. Look at that. That's all seeds. So you can save them. I just like toss them in, you know, and they'll hibernate and do their thing and come back in the spring. This is a pot of sage. One of my friends moved and she gave this to me, and I put it out here and it's doing really well. And I absolutely love it. And the bunny rabbits don't eat it, which is good. I'm planning to do some of my own sage bundles using that. So stay tuned for that. Oh, here's one. Yeah, look at this. Yeah, all flowers. Look at that. That's all seeds. That's a food source for birds, particularly in winter. When times are tight, they will come through and eat the seed pods. So I'm sure it makes my neighbors crazy, but I will leave stuff. I don't pull it. Oh, here we can see right in there, there's a little tiny butterfly. And we'll just come around, and that's like the plants. And then you can see I've got my bird feeders. So the little tractor thing, that's a suet. That's like a fat source for the birds that really helps them. The tall skinny thing is a finch feeder because different birds eat from different kinds of feeders. The round one, just about any bird and squirrels will eat from that. And this holds mealworms, and that's for my bluebirds. Also, the squirrels will eat that. But anyway, that's my pollinator garden. And I expanded it quite a bit from last year. I'll link over to last year's video. So there's that, and then right up here you can see there's my sign. I'm so proud of it. Gosh. Okay, that's today's video. I sure appreciate you hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a little something. And I hope it inspires you to get out and do some of your own gardening for wildlife because it's super rewarding. Okay, that's it until next time. I'll see you around.